Two West African countries, Burkina Faso and Ghana, just proved that trade and security cannot be separated again. They are saying that if you must trade together, this means that security must also be included. We cannot trade without security. That's because in February, 8 tomato sellers from Ghana lost their lives to unknown gunmen in Burkina Faso. Now, just a few months down the line, these two countries are signing a deal that might change the fate of these two countries. Welcome to Solid Finance Podcast, where we bring you finance and economic updates of things that are happening in Africa and the world at large. On today's episode, we bring you the latest updates in West Africa. On Monday, August 10, 2026, Ghana and Burkina Faso signed a deal that's going to change the way the trade and the security system between these two countries. This story is not about tomatoes. This story is not about cocoa. This story is not about ports. Rather, it's about security for every single businessman who is doing business in Ghana and Burkina Faso. Don't forget, the boundary between Burkina Faso and Ghana is just a step away. Let's watch this video.
We literally are the pillar between Ghana and Burkina Faso.
This is so amazing.
So amazing. You can't just believe this.
Okay, so right, Burkina Faso, and now we are in Ghana. So we are in Burkina Faso, and now we are in Ghana.
The border between Ghana and Burkina Faso is so close that you don't even feel like you've left your home. You just feel like you just strolled out of a state and then strolled back in. That is how close their borders are. The closeness between these two countries means one thing: trade. We have to buy things from you and you have to buy things from us. Don't forget, Burkina Faso happens to be one of the major producers of tomatoes in West Africa. And on the other hand, Ghana happens to be one of the major producers of cocoa in West Africa. Burkina Faso does not have a good coastline and they don't have ports in their country. So any goods that has to come to Burkina Faso has to pass through Ghana's port, making them intertwined, making them together. They don't have to separate because they have hand-in-hand relationship. According to the reports from Reuters newspapers, Ghana and Burkina Faso have signed a defense cooperation agreement to improve security along key cross-border trade routes. Ghana was Burkina Faso's largest African supplier in the fourth quarter of 2025, with exports worth $199.4 million. The deal provides for convoy escorts and other security measures to protect transporters, goods, and critical supply routes. Ghana and Burkina Faso have signed a defense cooperation agreement to protect key trade corridors between the two countries with security threats, posing a risk to the movement of goods and continuity of bilateral trade. Ghana's Defense Ministry announced the agreement on Monday, August 10th. Ghana's acting Defense Minister Kassil Atuba and Burkina Faso's Minister of State for War and Patriotic Defense, Major General Celestin Simpor, signed the deal. Now, this deal was sealed on the 10th of August 2026. So it's no longer a rumor. It's actually a deal that has been sealed. It's making the rounds because back in February, something very dark happened in Burkina Faso. 8 Ghanaian tomato sellers were headed to Burkina Faso to go and, purchase the tomatoes and then come back and sell. But then on their way, they were attacked by unknown gunmen, and as fate will have it, they lost their lives. Now, this particular attack opened the eyes of the both governments to say that, this trade route is no longer safe, and as such, we need to tighten our security. Hence, the reason why they signed this deal. This deal is to ensure that anybody that is going to Burkina Faso to get tomatoes, you have to go with a convoy of soldiers. Soldiers have to accompany you. And whoever in Burkina Faso that needs to go to Ghana to do business, he or she has to be escorted by soldiers. I'd like to take the report from Chronicles newspapers as to why this deal was signed. The agreement comes after 8 Ghanaian tomato traders were killed in a terrorist attack in Taitao, northern Burkina Faso, on February 14, 2026. The incident triggered renewed calls for stronger regional security cooperation, particularly as terrorism continues to threaten civilian population and economic activities across the Sahel and neighboring West African countries. The Chronicle welcomes the defense cooperation agreement signed between Ghana and Burkina Faso as a timeless and necessary response to the growing security threats confronting legitimate cross-border trade. The agreement could not have come at a more important time. This is a very, very short deal because none of this deal has been signed. It means that the security has tightened and it's going to reduce the attack on ordinary people who are just going to do their business. People are saying, is it only the ministers of Burkina Faso and Ghana that signed this deal? Well, that's not what happened. And the next question on people's mind is, who signed the deal? Who was present? Well, I'm here to read it to you. According to CNR newspapers, the Ministry of Defense has signed a defense cooperation agreement with Ministry of War and Patriotic Defense of Burkina Faso to provide security and escort support along vital cross-border trade routes. The agreement was officially signed by Acting Minister for Defense, Dr. Kassil Atoba Foson, and Burkina Faso's Minister of State and Minister of War and Patriotic Defense, Major General Celestin Simpor. The signing ceremony was witnessed by the Deputy Minister for Defense, Ernest Brogia Genfi, the Chief Director of Ministry, Mr. Emmanuel Kate, the Chief of the Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Agampong, along with some directors of the ministry, heads of various directorates of the Ghana Armed Forces, and members of the Burkina Faso delegation. This is a legal and a recognized deal.
Le Burkina Faso et le Ghana signent un accord pour sécuriser les corridors commerciaux. Le Burkina Faso et le Ghana renforcent la sécurité des principales routes utilisées pour transporter les marchandises entre les deux pays. Signé le 10 août à Accra, l'accord prévoit notamment des mesures de protection et l'escorte de convois de commerçants et de marchandises. L'objectif est de sécuriser les échanges et l'approvisionnement du Burkina Faso, notamment via le Ghana, alors que l'insécurité complique les déplacements dans certaines zones de la région.
On August 10th, Ghana and Burkina Faso did not just sign a deal. They signed a promise that trade and safety goes hand in hand, and these two countries have promised that they're going to do this diligently.
The discussions held within the period has further strengthened our continuous desire of building bridges of cooperation and fostering peace and security along our common land boundaries. The activities scheduled for this period transcend the mere technical and legal review of documents. They represent a shared commitment by our governments to deepen cooperation, promote peaceful coexistence, and enhance the effective management of our common land boundary. More importantly, they underscore a collective determination to transform our boundary from a line of separation into a bridge of cooperation, development, and regional integration. One of the key outcomes of this meeting will be the development of a comprehensive roadmap to guide the reaffirmation of our common boundary. This roadmap will serve as a strategic blueprint for our future engagements. It will define the scope of work, identify resource requirements, establish timelines, and provide mechanisms for monitoring.
This is what African trade should look like. This is very encouraging. Africans should not be competing with themselves. Rather, they should do business with themselves so that they can be able to compete with the global space.
Here is one of the reasons why I always speak highly of Ghana's government. Yesterday, August 11, 2026, Ghana and Burkina Faso signed a defense cooperation agreement. According to the information available, the agreement is aimed at providing security and escort support along vital cross-border trade corridors. But here is what I find even more interesting. This isn't the first major agreement between Ghana and Burkina Faso this year. In February, the two countries signed 7 bilateral agreements covering areas including transport and road transit, cross-border cooperation, border management, disaster management, and combating illicit drugs. Then, in June, they moved forward with a joint management and reaffirmation of their common border, including the inauguration of a 22-member technical committee. And now, in August, the two countries have signed a defense cooperation agreement focused on security along cross-border trade routes. So, whatever happens next, one thing is very clear. Ghana is one of the West African countries currently working very closely with Burkina Faso across security, trade, border management, and regional.
So, this deal is to ensure safety for Burkina Faso and Ghana. Don't forget, Ghana needs Burkina Faso, and Burkina Faso in turn also needs Ghana. If this deal is implemented, which I know it will, because we all know Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore, he is a man of his words. This means that the insecurity that's happening in the trade corridor of Burkina Faso and Ghana is going to be curbed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that this deal is going to make headway? Do well to like, do well to share, and don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Solid Finance Podcast, for more finance and economic updates like this. Until next time.